Hello, good evening, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? Tonight, inshallah, we'll have an interesting interview with a great designer from United Kingdom, Mr. James, and we'll discuss. Yes, he's there. Okay, please come on, Mr. James, so we can start our talk and our chat about design, brand design, identity, and logos, and many issues. And welcome, thank you, and we will start after he joined with us. Yes, Mr. James, how are you, mate?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good.
I appreciate the use of mate as I'm English, so that's great.
Yes, I like it too because it's your highly recommended from your side. That's why I'm using it.
Everybody should use mate. I use mate a lot because I keep forgetting people's names, so it's the kind of way forward.
Perfect. Our live chat or our live Instagram tonight will be within 60 minutes.
Sure.
Which is 1 hour, because I know you have a lot of things to do. Your schedule is always busy. So accepting my invitation, highly appreciated, because even a couple of my friends said, yeah, you will get this chat with Mr. J. Oh, that's great. And they're circulating, and you can notice that from the story. So
that's good. Well, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me. It's
our pleasure, because always we are looking for beautiful minds like you, and we will share the knowledge and the experience with others. So I will now a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit about who are you?
Who am I? That is a very rounded question. I suppose I'll give you the short version, which is probably the way to go. So, yeah, for anybody here that doesn't know me, my name is James Martin. A lot of people may know me as Made by James. I am an agency owner. I run an agency called Baby Giant Design Co. in the UK, but I also run my personal brand, Made by James, which is I suppose a vessel for basically what I'm trying to do is teach people everything I know and all the mistakes I've made, all my process, so they get a bit more of a real understanding of how the design world is for designers. I think there's a lot of social media creates this cloud of what I would call fakery, maybe. Everybody shows their very best selves or their very fake selves, and I'm trying to bring a little bit of honesty back to the community with reference to, showing failed work and showing my mistakes and talking about life behind the designer as well as the designer. So, that's kind of me in a nutshell, really. 37, beard, and from the UK.
I invite all my friends and, of course, your fans. They already knew about who are you and what make your account unique. After I screening many times, comparing with others, maybe 2 to 3 points I just wrote it down here. Number one is transparency.
Mm-hmm.
You sharing your experience, so you don't have what they call it secret sauce for me or secret recipe. No,
there is no secret sauce.
Source is publicity. You are very friendly. You are transparent. You show behind the scene. That, I think, what makes you unique in your account. It's not just showing beautiful logos. No. It's to show your life's lessons.
Yeah.
I can figure out from even your handwriting. That's another point, which is make your account unique. Is more what they call human. There's a human touch.
Yeah.
Handwrittens, doodles, everything that make the communications much easier for audience to get it from your side. So my question is now, just this. By the way, your account is very inspirational. Even I just circulated, in my network just to get more, lessons. My second question is how you make you unique compared with other designer logos. whereas we can see zillions of options of logos, millions
Mm.
options, and even we have another threatening, what they call the threatening, which is artificial intelligence, which is
Yeah.
you can just put the input to whatever the data, and you can give you many options. Maybe now it's a little bit not mature enough, but maybe after 10, 15, we don't know. That will be maybe it will be threatening for designers. My question is,
Mm.
how you make you unique comparing with other logo designers?
Uh, wow, good question. I suppose the one thing I bring to the table is myself more than anything, I would say. I've got what I would call like an analog process, so 75 to 80% of my work is done in sketchbooks and notebooks and doodling. And I think maybe what makes me a little bit different as well is I don't just show a final logo. I actually share the journey from knowing nothing to its creation, and sometimes the mistakes I make in the middle. I think there's a it's as designers we're not always right. And like I said, social media sometimes has this cloud that everybody's right all the time, whereas we're really not. It's just some people share their wrongs and some people don't. So, I think that probably what makes me slightly more unique, and there are a lot of other people that do it, it's not just me, but, there is a staged process. So I go from, I talk about chats with the clients, what I learned, what I was trying to achieve with the brief, and then I'll show the sketches, and then I'll show the refined sketches, and I'll show them working in vector, then I'll show them mocked up working in real world situations. So whoever's looking at my content understands my thought process. Because I think that's the most, like you say, there are gajillions. I don't even know if that's a number, but there are gajillions of logo designers out there. It's kind of like the new wild, wild west at the moment. Everybody wants to be a logo designer. And there's a lot of people stealing other people's logos, which is another conversation. But, I think the most interesting thing about logo design and about creative output is the input that goes into it. How did this come about? Because you can look at a logo and go, oh, it's beautiful. But I actually think the really, really fun stuff is the stuff that happens before that. The story, the journey, the chats with the clients, as I said, the rights, the wrongs, the tweaks, why the decision making, why is it done like that? Why did he make that decision? Why has he chosen that color? So these are all the things that, that's like growing up as a young designer. Like I said, I grew up without Instagram. I grew up like yourself. I'm a bit older. If you don't mind me saying that, we're both a little bit older. So we grew up in a world without social media. It was, but now there's this new beast. And I worked with an agency to start off with, and the people that I learned from were the people that I was working with. But now, obviously, people can learn from people online, social media, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is. So what I'm trying to do is be very transparent and open about my process so people can start to, understand the thought and the thinking behind it. And, it's not to teach people to think like me, it's to teach people to think like themselves, but make sure they're thinking. There's always got to be a reason for execution. You can't just go there, otherwise you might as well just go to Fiverr or go to a stock library. The reason that logo designers are here, and the best logo designers out there, which I'm not one of them yet. I hope to be one day when I die to be remembered for logo design, but I'm a long way away from that. So, but yeah, I think the storytelling is the most important part of the process, and that's something that I share.
That's make you unique, because after I just analysis your account, number one, you said a terminology which I like it now, which is analog, more than
Yeah,
digital, human touch. That's number one. Second, you have a passion. You can share that passion with others, which is you can even show your fun while you're working.
yeah,
Number three, and number four, you have the passion, and number five, you love to learn and teach in time, and that's what makes you unique as a person, as a logo designer. and that everybody can just go and check your account. You can see it's not just about logos only. It's even, number one, it's behind the scene. Number two, it's about lessons from your life, from the journey for the logo processing, and which is that's adding value more than the design, the logo itself.
Yeah, and I think that's really, I think that's,
Perspective, yes, but the
yeah,
lessons of life is abroad, and that
yeah,
can't just take it as a roadmap for him.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
makes it. That's what I.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I really appreciate that. But I think that's such an important point that you raised there is that, you know, I think it's, you know, we are not just our work. You know, I think that's what happens sometimes with social media and influence or whatever you want to call it. There's also a human
Yes.
behind the work. You know, yes, I do logo design all day, every day. I eat, sleep, breathe logo design. But I also have, you know, a wife, a family, a dog. I love nature, you know, and I think, you know, I've also made a lot of mistakes in my past, and I'm no doubt going to make a few more in the future, just hopefully slightly less of them. But I think, you know, it's,
Yeah, interesting. That's
yeah, yeah, people just see you for your work. So,
lessons, not just for us, for everybody. It's not just for for the logo designs, even for the business owners. Because as you even Simon Sinek said, people selling to people, people buy from people. So
yeah,
we have to show that the human element, the emotional connection, which is I feel it 100% from each post you have in
yeah.
your account. This
Thank you.
coming to this coming to the other question is just more technical now. What's your creative process you are you have to get the logo design done? For example,
The,
if there's a process, but what's your? It's not secret, of course, but we
yeah.
need to know more about your logo design process.
Yeah, I mean, well, process is power ultimately. You know, without process, you can't understand what price you should charge. Without process, you're running blind into a project. So, process for me is the most important thing of, yeah, not just logo design, any sort of
Yeah,
creative career, not probably not even creative. Everything, everybody has to have a process. So my process starts with usually somebody reaching out to me asking for a logo. We then communicate via email, have a call. Obviously, you know, once pricing and everything's kind of worked out. From there, I ask my clients to create a brief. If they don't have a brief, I send them some what I would call buzz questions, you know, to get them kind of thinking. I've got like a little document I send. And I also ask them to put together a mood board. That's not to copy, it's just to kind of understand like a visual personality that, you know, just so I can look at something and kind of go, right, yeah, there's definitely a vibe. And also when we're on our call, it gives us something to talk about, you know, bounce off, you know, why have you picked this logo? Why have you picked this brand? Why do you like this? Why do you like that? And obviously all the time during that call, I'm making notes and all of that jazz. And then from there, I just go straight into sketch process. So yeah, lots of doodles. Doodles turn into more fluid ideas. Those ideas then turn into more solid ideas. And I think any designer, when he's drawing or when he's coming up with concepts, there's always one that they go, that hits the brief. I really like it. I think the client will really like it. It's perfect for the brand. It hits their audience. You know, it hits all the right values and, like I say, buzzwords that it needs to. So basically, what I do is I don't. I like to say I put my full ass into one idea rather than half-ass a load of ideas. That's kind of my strategy because of the process I want to go through and the amount of story I want to get into a design. It's difficult to get it into one design that works. It's impossible to get it into 5 different designs. So yeah, I like to present one logo at a time because I think that way I'm focused on creating something truly magical, and the client's focused on the work I'm presenting them rather than going, oh, I like a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this. Sorry if you hear my dog barking. It's sunny here in the UK, so he's outside. But yeah, so and then after that, so basically I'll take that one one direction I think nails the brief, nails the client, has story, has all that goodness in it. I like it. I think they'll like it. I say it worked for their audience and everything. So I get that all vectored up, start messing around with some color if I feel that's the right way to go. And then I'll start presenting it in what I would call real world mock-ups. So if it's a coffee shop, I'll start showing it on coffee merch, bags,
Yes,
cups,
but related to the business itself.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than just doing like the generic business card or the generic T-shirt, I like to kind of make my logos, presentations industry specific for what the client, so that visualizing how I see it working for the client within their industry. What this does for me is like sharing that whole. So I basically send everything to them. So I send them my sketches, I send them my drawings, I send them the vectors, send them the mock-ups, and I send them an email. Sometimes a PDF, sometimes I talk about it over the phone, over a Zoom call with them, but most of the time just email with a load of mock-ups on it. And I'll explain my decision making. This is why I've done this. This is why I've chosen this. Can you see this in the negative space? This is why I've done this. So basically, they've got all the sketches, all the vectors, all the mock-ups, and I'm talking them through my whole process. So I'm holding their hand through this whole journey, and they start to go, rather than just sending them a logo and going, what do you think? They go, I like it, and I think, I don't like it, I don't know why, but so I find this way of leading them through that whole process from start to finish, and as I say, explaining my decision making makes them go, yes, 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 tick, 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 oh, I get it, tick, 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 and getting them in my brain, which is a crazy place at times, but people seem to like it, which is fun. So and that's basically a very skimmed down version, because I know we've only got an hour, of what my process is like. And obviously, if they don't like it, they get 4 sets of revisions. So those revisions are free. So if they're not too sure about something, or they don't like it, they think it's hideous, I ask them just to focus. I mean, it rarely happens. I mean, I've never had to go for revisions. Sometimes there's a couple of tweaks, but usually it's kind of within 1 or 2 rounds. And basically, sorry, people are emailing me and trying to phone me, so I'm trying to ignore them. And then I can't remember what I just got totally distracted. This is my dyslexia. But basically, that's it. That's it.
And I think it's very clear, like a crystal. Just I have a couple of points related to the process itself.
Sure.
About the questions you ask client. Did you go to the deep, for example? It's not just about asking about the business nature, more than, for example, going deep. Just an example, asking about the persona of the brand, vision, what's the goals and values, all that. It's related a little bit to strategic more than creative brand identity, because sometimes it's overlap. You cannot go to do like a logo design, a visual identity, without knowing, for example, archetype or the persona of the business. For example, the business, it's more serious. I cannot go and do, for example, a funny logo. So it's not right. These type of questions, did you raise it to your client, or just it's only deep related to visual identity itself?
Well, it depends on the budget, doesn't it? Ultimately, well, how much money do you have, isn't it? I mean, I don't tend to get too involved in brand strategy. It's something that weirdly doesn't excite me that much. That might sound very weird as a logo designer, but I don't find it that exciting. Obviously, the questions I ask and are the kind of we obviously talk about the values of the company. What's their mission? What are their plans for the next 5 years? What are their plans for the next 10 years? I give them a list of what I would call personalities to tick. So that I feel, I mean, without going, I mean, you can spend thousands, tens of thousands on brand strategy, and that's really not where I want to be spending my time. So a lot of the time people have had that strategy session done with somebody, then they come to me for the logo design. So I have that information. I like to work with a lot of startups and SMEs. I basically work with everybody up here to everybody down here. And I kind of prefer working with the people down here because they're excitable, passionate, happy, hungry. Where sometimes like big rebrands of companies, there's a lot of like pushing rubbish around a room and trust me, I've been there. But basically, so what the questions I do ask, yeah, like values, characteristics, what's the vision for the company? And, so I would call it a stripped back strategy kind of session. And that's just kind of through email. On the call, we talk about, as I said, like all those little bits we talk about. And I think that personally gives you enough to create what you can create.
Oh, it depends, and as you said, it depends about the business size and the business budget.
Yeah.
But if you have like small one, of course, you will not go for more deep strategy. But if you have a big company or medium that can offer more, budget, of course, you will give even giving them a strategy session or even questions related to strategy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there is a chat. There is obviously a strategy-based question, but I'm also worried that they've come to me for brand identity work, not for me to do all their strategy as well. Do you know what I mean? So I get all the bits and pieces I need to create a logo for them. And as I said, most of the time they have had that strategy session done with another designer, or they've done it in-house, or they've had a workshop day, and then they come to me with all this information. But, I also think sometimes, designers overthink this whole strategy thing. Obviously there's a lot of content now about it's not enough to be a logo designer. It's not enough to be a brand identity designer. And, I was going to swear then, but I'm not going to swear. But that's absolutely rubbish. I do extremely well through being a brand identity designer, and I'm not that interested in the strategy. I know enough about it. I've done it before many, many times. But, there are billions of courses and, many people saying, you have to be a strategist to be a good logo designer. But I think the best logo designers are strategists, and some of the best strategists are shit logo designers. So I think there has to be a kind of understanding about creativity. Let's say like if somebody comes with a big budget, 15, 20K, and says, look, I really want you to do logo design. Can we have a strategy session? Blah, blah, blah. I'll get somebody else in to do the strategy. It's not for me. Do you know what I mean? I might make a little bit of money on the side as a middleman, but for me, I just want to be doing the creative side of it and getting.
Sorry, James. And that will be consistent. For example, if you hire a strategy or strategic, whatever the outputs or the outcome, it will be aligned with your design process logo, right?
Yeah.
So match. So,
oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's still debatable because some, as you said, some say no, we have to know the strategy before doing the logo, and they say, and the others say no, not need for strategy. It's like a huge issue. We cannot, just 100% sure about the.
Well, that's for everybody has a different process, and there is no right way and there is no wrong way. And I think the more people understand that you just got to do what works for you. Do you know what I mean? I think so many creatives, especially in the social media world, listen to everybody and they end up doing nothing because everybody's telling them to do something different. Ultimately, do what works for you. Do what makes you happy. If you're happy, drawing pretty pictures all day, do it. If you are happy doing deep strategy workshops, go and do that. I think the most important thing is to, not overcomplicate things because
and it's not oversimplified. Just in between, because at the end of the day, if I do like a logo or brand identity for any type of business, the basic thing is just to understand the business. That's the basic. Either to go deep with the strategy or go with the basic, as you said now.
Yeah.
Because questions. I just what is it now? Because from the direct message, number one is what I figure out from your account, all your sketches black and white.
Well, yeah, I mean they are. Yeah, well they're grey and white because lead's
Okay,
black.
it's black and white.
Yeah.
Okay, because some of my friends here are asking how you can choose, for example, colors, because all your posts just gray and black and white, and they're
Yeah.
colorful. It's necessarily to show that to your client, or you have to show the client black and white first. After that, you can discuss the color. What's your
Um, Yeah, I mean, I do use, I actually use a lot of color. You just got to swipe through the post. You know, obviously my drawings are black and white because they're done on white paper with a grey pencil. But, you know, if you swipe through, I do tend to use quite a lot of color, especially within the mock-ups and towards the end of the brand identity. But, you know, let's kind of start with question one. So how to choose color.
Yeah.
The color is a funky beast. Do you know what I mean? Somebody can look at yellow, for example, and love it, and some people can look at yellow and hate it. So whenever you do choose color, there has to be a reason behind it. It's not just because I like blue or I like green or whatever, you know. And I
So,
think it's really
sorry, do you have like a reference? For example, there's a color psychology, and
yeah.
it's like a different perspective. So, do you have any reference you advise the designers they have to refer to? For example, if they want to select colors for the brand identity.
Yeah, I mean, I try and stay well away from Google and all this color psychology. Obviously, it's important to reference it and think about it once you've chosen your color, but I don't let it dictate color too much. Again, I mean, you can go onto Google and one person says yellow means something, and
Yeah.
another person says yellow means something else. So who's you know who's right, who's wrong? I think you know take away the kind of boring side of color, and I always kind of refer to the brief. You know, so for example, you know, I've done some work with a company called Plastic Freedom. You know, we really wanted to kind of add some color into that, and obviously plastic freedom, people would generally go with like garish recycling green or blue for plastic. But what I actually did was speak to Beth, who's the owner, and we started talking about, you know, the reasoning behind her starting the company, and it was to minimize, you know, plastic in the ocean. You know, the less plastics we use, the less it's going to be in the ocean, the more the oceans will survive. So I started to look at like abstract photos of sea waves cresting, and obviously in the sun shining through, you get all these lovely kind of turquoisey green colors. And that's why I chose the color that we chose for that, which was kind of like a muted turquoise green. So I think if you are going to use color, don't think, you know, I don't like kind of thinking, right, this is a recycling company or a vegan company, it has to be green. You know, I like to kind of think a little bit
More deep
more, yeah, a bit more abstract, you know, because I think that's also, you know, color can be a bit of a cop out, you know, like, well,
related
this is,
and business related. And by the way, we cannot
yeah.
just refer to one what they call it standard psychology colors. Why? Because it's different from culture to culture.
Oh, I mean, exactly. One person's
Yeah.
red is another, you know, that means so many different things. And that's why you do have to do a bit of research. I mean, so I say I've been in the industry now for close to 18 years, and I've done a lot of reading and read a lot of different stuff based on different colors and different countries. So, you know, I think color has to be a decision, and a wise decision if you're going to use it. And there has to be a story behind it. It can't just be, this is what everybody else is doing. For me, not good enough. You're better off not using color. But when, sorry.
It should be there a strong rationale behind the
Oh,
color.
100, yeah, there should be a really bold, solid reason behind it. And also making it unique to the clients, not industry specific, making it unique to the brief. So that's the only way to make them stand out. You know, if you chuck everything into the same pot and it's all the same color, nobody's going to stand out. So make sure it's a little bit different. But like when I present logos to my client, I do present them in black and white. I think if it looks good in black and white, it will look good forever. And there's also going to be multiple applications when the client will need to use a black logo on, whether it's on packaging or whether it's just on the bottom of a website or something. They will need to use black or white on black or black and white at some stage.
Yeah, and for black and white, James, they said, I forget the name of the book. I think it's written by a British guy, David Avery, something. Yeah, he said that if you want to test any logo, just see it black and white first, without colors.
Yeah.
Or that's mean you can, put the color.
That's my. Yeah, I know him don't know him very well. I've read a lot of his books. He's very good, David. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in that kind of attack as well. Look good in black and white, look good forever. Like I said, if you can show a logo to a client in color, and the color, therefore, not like the logo, which is why it's important to show. If you're going to use color, there has to be a reasoning behind it, and there has to be a reason behind it. But it's also why I show doodles, sketches, refined sketches, black and white, and then color if I'm going to use it. But I always like to use color as a bit of a punch highlight as well. So it's not like super dominant. It might just be a little splash of yellow or a splash of mint.
Yeah. Are you titling yourself as an artist or designer, or both?
I don't like to pigeonhole myself into a particular category. I've grown up a creative, I would say. I was an illustrator, tattoo apprentice, drawn all my life. I've now gone into the realm of graphic designer, and from there niche down into brand identity. So, I mean, I think I would call myself a creative who specializes in brand identity. That's my answer. Yeah.
Because as you know, that who said, David Ogilvy something? He said that if design cannot be sell, it's just an art. So art is something personal perspective you want to show, whereas design should be solving a problem for your client, for the business.
Yeah.
But you, James, I think you have both. You are an artist, and everybody can figure out that. Plus, you are a designer.
Yeah, so, art is, like you say,
that's a powerful, by the way.
Yeah, art is subjective, isn't it? I think, art is you like it or you don't. Design is there to do a job. It's there to communicate. It's not there to be hung on your wall, for example. Although lots of people hang my logos on the wall, which is nice. But no, I think design and art have two different missions in life. Art. I've got art in my office here that some people might chuck in the bin. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't like it. It's my personal love, Whereas design, for example, as you say, is to achieve a mission, to do a job. Is whether that's to promote, gain sales. There's design has a job to do. It's to sell. It's to communicate in a certain way. Whether that's right or wrong, some people use quite risky tactics in design. Some people use quite safe tactics. But ultimately, if you're talking about it, it's doing its job. That's what I think.
Coming to the second question, James. How is the logo should explain the type of business or not?
Sorry, just repeat the question.
I mean, the logo should explain itself. For example, if I have, for example, IT company, should be the logo it reflects the type of business, the business category, and the individual identity, or not necessarily?
I'm a big believer in doing totally the opposite of what everybody else would do. So I presume you mean, for example, like if it's a real estate agent, should it have a house in it? You know, if it's a coffee house, should it have just a coffee bean or a cup? For me, I think that is, I think, again, each their own, depending on brief and all the rest of it. But I don't believe, I think creatives can think of better things than going for the obvious. You know, people have come to us to, you know, especially when people come to me, they want to stand out. They want to be different. They want to stand out from the kind of beige that's going on in the industry. You know, they might be they might be a corporate company, but their values are not corporate at all. So they want to kind of stand out. You know, they're kind of almost, you know, rebelling against the corporate nature. But, you know, for me, I mean, I'm not a big believer in having to show the obvious. You know, I mean, you got to remember that a logo is such a small part of the brand.
Yes.
You know, the logo is this big.
The iceberg of the brand identity.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, everybody's done a version of that iceberg and claimed it as their own, which is hilarious. But you know, I think, yeah, as you say, like there's a logo, then there's the brand identity, the stuff you see, but then there's all the other stuff. You know, how you communicate, how you make people feel. So I don't think, you know, I actually think you're almost kind of, I don't know, restricting a client by giving them an obvious design, because it doesn't show power, creativity, you know, it doesn't show them as being anything different from the rest of people on the planet. You know, and I think, yeah, but there's nothing to say that, you know, for example, like when I do like a coffee house logo, I like to kind of work with the client to create something different, but I might sneak a little coffee bean into the negative space, but it's not the focus. I think there's a big difference between using something relative cleverly and just showing a coffee bean, you know, with coffee house next to it, you know. So for me, I like to think abstract. I like to think, what would everybody else do? Right, I'm going to do something over there because I don't want to be like these people. That's my kind of theory.
Yeah, with you, because I know the answer. I'm just going to share it with my audience, because you know some designers, they want to translate the type of business in the logo or the brand identity. It's not necessarily, for example, if you go to Apple is not selling fruits or apple, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah.
There's a rationale, because at the end of the day, maybe this happening before 100 years ago, as Martin Neumeyer said in his brand gap. Now it's more about identifications. It's about link between the business and the visual identity. Even if you want to do swash, dot, 3 dots, whatever, should be there behind it. As you say, it's not just the brand identity itself. There's marketing, there's customer service, there's a PR, there's a huge thing that we have to put it together as a puzzle to see the big picture. So it's not just one thing. So a logo, it cannot tell the whole story about your business.
No, I mean, a logo won't make or break a brand. It will definitely help visually communicate the brand as a whole, but it won't make or break a company. What will break a company is a company not having a clue who they are. They might have the best logo on the planet, but if they have no idea what their mission is, no idea who their target audience is, no idea what they're doing, it will fail, ultimately. Yeah, there are some fantastic companies I know. Well, not some fantastic companies, but there are some huge companies. They've got a rubbish website, rubbish branding, but they're turning over billions a year. You know what I mean? So, I mean, and that's through product, you know, good marketing, you know. So I think there is, you know, people put a lot of pressure on the logo, but I think that's what strips some of the fun out of it as well. That's why I always approach my projects with a smile. You know, this is such an exciting part, and it's, you know, I always tell my clients, you know, that when they kind of talk to me about what they're trying to promote, I'm like, this logo is like this, your brand is this, you know, this is like a vessel for communication. This identity is going to allow you to communicate everything else, you know, this little logo isn't meant to communicate your whole company. Like the Nike swoosh, for example, that doesn't do everything that Nike does. The way they market, their advertising, their color palette, the way they talk to people, all of these things with the swoosh,
Yes.
perfect. Just swoosh on its own, nothing. So yeah.
With you. At the same time, that small piece should be consistent with other pieces of the brand. Not should be like off. For example, if there's consistency means in terms of persona, in terms of colors, in terms of applications, in terms of communication, all things coming on, as I said, is like different pieces of puzzle.
Yeah.
So this puzzle, it should be fit with other pieces, and that will complete the whole picture. And I have another question from some of audience. They said, did you use a golden ratio?
Oh, this is the worst question. I apologize to whoever asked it, but there's this fascination with designers, and especially young designers coming through, that everything has to be in a grid and everything has to use the golden ratio. I don't think I've ever used the golden ratio, not once. I use my eye. I think as soon as you start placing boundaries and grids on your creativity, you're not thinking, you're kind of restricted with your thinking. I mean, I would just create what you want, make it work, balance it visually. It doesn't have to
make it work.
I mean, you can make anything. I mean, I could take this bottle and make it look as if it works with the golden ratio. I mean, it's all balls to me.
People still link between, for example, the perfection or whatever that we call high level of logo or brand identity design with a golden ratio. Why still now, a couple of people, not many people, sorry, all around the world, they have that mindset between the golden ratio and the logo creation. Whereas we can find many logos all around the world for beautiful brands and marketing, and they don't use golden ratio. So what's the reason behind that as a designer?
Why are people using the golden ratio?
Now, why people think they have to use the golden ratio? Some of them, maybe many people.
Probably because they've all watched the same course or followed the same designer. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea where it's come from, but it's harming a lot of designers' creativity. I mean, this is the big problem with. This is why, like, whenever I'm, growing up, inspiration for me was tattoo art, skate culture, graffiti, architecture, graphic design, typography. The problem is people are now thinking too narrowly with their inspiration. They might only read design books and they might only follow their favorite logo designer. And the problem is the group think starts to happen in respect that whatever that person says, they think is right, so they might follow somebody who says, you should always use the golden ratio. And they go, I must always use the golden ratio. And whenever somebody says, I don't use the golden ratio, they go, you're wrong. You don't use the golden ratio. I mean, I have no idea what's going on in the design world. That's why I keep my head down and just do my own thing.
James.
Yeah, crikey, it's winding me up.
I have a couple of questions from our friend Khadija from Nigeria.
Cool.
A lot of questions. Anyhow, number one, how did you become so good at sketching? Of course, because you are an artist. And the other question, how do you choose the color palette? We already discussed that. Any tips about making costume typography, wordmark logo?
So what was the first question?
No, the first and second you already answered.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool. So the third question was what? Sorry.
Yeah, any tips about making costume typography, wordmark logo?
Custom type. Yeah, I mean, there's a YouTube video I've done on this as well. So just go and check out my YouTube. There's like a little process. There's a few different ways you can do it. I mean, obviously, just drawing letters. You know, just for example, you could take the letter A and just create 20 different types of A's. I mean, they don't have to be good, they don't have to ever be used, but you might start with a very simple A. Then you might just do an A without the crossbar. Then you might make a bold A. Then you might make an A with serifs. I mean, what I've done in the past is actually print out. So take like a very simple, clean sans serif letter, for example. Like say something like Volt type or a Volt font or something like Arial or whatever it is, just an A shape. Print it out 20 times on a piece of paper and then draw over it. So you're taking this A shape, for example. Let me just put this A shape here, for example, and then you might just kind of, you might kind of make it, for example, a little bit more unique and put like little serifs in it or something, and then suddenly you've got a different A. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's a really simple. I mean, excuse my very bad drawing, but I was under pressure with like 2 seconds. So it was just to kind of get a point across. But like get an A4 piece of paper, print it out, drop the opacity of it so they're slightly transparent, obviously, so you can still see them, but they're not overly there. And just use that structure to start drawing A's. I've done that with billions of letters for many, many years. And now muscle memory knows how to create certain letters in certain shapes. But it's a super easy thing. I mean, you can do 20 different A's in under 10 minutes. And if you're doing that once a day, once a week, your type skills will start to get a lot better and better.
Leading us to another question, Jeff, because I have 2 to 3 questions in the same subject. Do you have specific daily training for your skills? Because you have a deadline, so you have a brief client, and you have, of course, tight schedule. So did you dedicate a couple of hours or something to, number one, for daily training to crafting your skills?
Well, I am working on logo projects all day, every day, and that's practice. Do you know what I mean? I'm practicing drawing, even if it's for a client, it's still work. So I consider the work that I do every single day as practice for getting better at what I do. One thing I do a lot, although hasn't been very well recently, but I'm now back at it. I do read a lot. I work very hard on training this, because I think the brain, the mind, the human inside is most of the time the biggest issue for designers. It's this thing that stops you thinking you're good. It's this thing that makes you get creative block. It's the thing that stops you from sharing your work, imposter syndrome. So all these things, I mean, you can get better at drawing. You can by drawing, but I think it's, you can be the best drawer in the world, the best logo designer in the world, but if you're not showing anybody your work, you're never going to get any work. So I would work just as hard as the person, the mind, because that will give you confidence to share your work and ignore the noise and be yourself. So when it comes to practice, I suppose I'm practicing 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. Well, yeah, because I'm working 12 hours a day, 10, 12 hours a day. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Because how you can manage your time, James? Because as I said, you have 3 to 4 projects or even more, plus your family time, plus your time, of course, plus your sketching and training for getting more information through reading, through watching TVs or YouTube. How you can manage time as a solo business? As I know, you are a solo business, so you don't have any partner, right?
Well, so I have Baby Giant Design Co. There's me and my business partner. He does all the web. I do all the creative. But Made by James is me. Just logo. But
your time, James.
Routine.
things. Yes.
That R word, routine. I have the same routine every single, well, I say every single day, Monday to Friday. You know, on the weekends I relax a bit, but I wake up at the same time. I walk my dog at the same time. I read at the same time. So basically, I'll generally get up early in the morning. And then I've got a good hour and a half, 2 hours to dog walk and do my other bits in the morning. That's mine. Go into the office 8ish, sometimes in the summer earlier because it's light at 5 in the morning. So I can obviously walk the dog earlier and I'm up earlier. Winter's a bit different because it's always dark here. So I'll probably change the routine a little bit. But basically in the office for 8, leave the office at 6:37. Then the evenings are mine with my wife. So I'm very strict on my early mornings are mine. Don't even look at my phone. Don't really check email. Don't really check Instagram.
There is no distractions
No.
within this 8 hours in your working days, right?
Yeah. So basically, so let me break down my 8 till 8, for example. So um, basically, I'm very productive in the mornings. That's when like, everybody's productive at different times of day. Some people are night owls. Some people are, you know, mid morning. Some people are very early. I'm very early. I do my best work between 8 and 2, say. So I get all of my most difficult tasks, most important tasks done in that 6 hours in the morning. From there, from like 2 till 4, I'll probably start emailing, doing some Instagram posts, doing some replying to DMs, replying to emails, organizing, making lists, you know, doing like the little bits and pieces jobs like small little label work or small little packaging work. But and then from like 4:30 till 6 before I kind of finish, depending on, obviously I coach now and I do Instagram live. So they tend to happen between 5 and 8, for example, in the evening. So that's kind of what I would call social time, you know, and coaching time and all the rest of it. But I say social is kind of social as in this is social. But, you know, I love doing this stuff. And then me and my wife will kind of go to bed at like 10:30, 11, and then same thing, Monday to Friday, same churn.
You
But
find,
it's the
you find the time mesh, what they call it, which is it's a routine. So we
yeah
have systematically, you know, each hours and that's why you are more productive because you have routine. So if you have routine, even your mind is already programmed, you know.
oh yeah, it's autopilot. Yeah.
And what I like in your schedule, James, is while you are working from 8 to 2, there is no checking emails in early morning.
I turn my email off.
That's perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect because many distractions that taking your energy, taking your focus, especially if you are early bird, you know, creative kind of people. That,
Yeah.
that's amazing schedule. That's why I'm asking this, just to share your experience with others.
Yeah. I mean, I've turned off all notifications on my phone. I don't get email notifications. I don't get social media notifications or anything. Because I'm, you know, as you know, I get kind of, I'm a bit magpie-ish, you know, if I see something ding, I'll go over here and go and play over there. And if I hear something ding, I'll go and play over there, which is why between like 8 and 2, you know, at the end of the day, you know, communicating with your clients is really, really important. But if they email you in the morning, they're not expecting you, and you shouldn't feel that they're expecting you to get back to them right away.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
don't wait a week or 2 weeks, but you know, you've got 24 hours there really on which you can reply, you know, especially when you get to a stage when you've got, you know, 100+ clients a year all emailing you, you know, you do have to kind of understand that. I mean, I could spend my whole day, all day, every day emailing. Easy. But if I did, I'd get no work done.
Yeah.
And I'd make no money. So,
All right, Lana, I like your schedule.
yeah.
What's the source of your inspirational, James, every day? For example, you know, you come up with a time that your mind block.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially with the designers. So how you
Yeah.
can that block, and what's your source of inspiration as a designer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get creative block. I don't think creative block is necessarily real. I think it's a bit of an excuse for
Hmm.
laziness sometimes. It's an excuse to, oh, I've got creative block. I'll have the day off and go and watch Netflix. I think I always like to kind of use the analogy of a football player, for example. I mean, everybody here probably knows Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi or whatever. You know, sometimes they will walk onto a football pitch and they will be the best player on the planet. They're both known as the best players on the planet. They will walk through teams, score great goals. Another day, they'll turn up and they'll be average. You won't really notice them. They'll make mistakes. And I think it's the same for creatives. Some days we're on it, some days we're not. It's not. Yeah, it's not creative block. It's just sometimes we're up here, sometimes we're down here. And as soon as you understand that and don't put this creative block on it, it's just like, yeah, crikey, I'm just struggling to think of ideas, or I'm not thinking of them as quickly as I usually do. It's not creative block. It's just that you're on one of these days rather than one of these days. And I think as soon as people put this creative block is a block, therefore you're doing nothing.
Cannot move. Yes.
Exactly. So what I tend to do in that situation is so if I'm going for a project and the ideas are kind of flowing, but I'm just like, oh, why can't I just think of this? What's not going on? I'll just stop looking at it for a little bit. I'll go and do some emails. Sometimes I've even gone for a walk, just to kind of just get away from it.
Yes.
And more often than not, come back an hour later, straight away.
Yeah.
Sometimes what people put too much pressure on themselves to perform. It's like the football analogy. They put so much pressure on themselves to perform that they make more mistakes. Stop, breathe, don't look at it for an hour. You haven't got creative block. You're just human. That's all it is. You're just human. You're just having one of those moments where it's not going quite right. So
that's what they call it, playing with conscience. For example, if you put yourself much pressure in conscience, you cannot get it.
Yeah.
Leave it. Your unconscious process will give you the answers. As you said, people might maybe by watching TV, having a tea, walk. Even, but don't put yourself in that area alone, because with time, as you said, with time you cannot. It's very hard to get out from that area. So the easiest way, just as you said, go away from that idea, from that environment, change the environment, and you can get away from what we call it block.
I mean, the worst thing you can do is just go, I've got creative block, I can't do this, I'm going. At the end of the day, I mean, as a creator, as a business owner, there's always stuff to do. So if you can't get your head around this task, do another task, reply to your emails, do some work on your own website, do some social media content. Don't just stop and think, oh, I can't do this, therefore I can't do anything. So I think that's the mindset of people. They go, I've got creative block and I've had it for a week and I've done nothing. Well, you could have done loads of other stuff. You could have updated your portfolio. You could have created some Instagram content. You could have, worked. You could have read some books on something, And I think that's the problem, is people stop. There's so many things. Just because you can't do this one thing doesn't mean you can't do these other things.
Because some people just taking as an excuse. There's no excuse to creative people, because they are creative. So whenever they have like something obstacles, they can jump, they can go around, but never they are stopping. Point. That's maybe the last two questions is, what's your source of inspiration, James?
I mean, my biggest source of inspiration is being extremely happy in my life and in my job. Like I was saying, there is a world behind design. If I wasn't happy in my outside life, my work life would be really badly affected. And that's the same for everybody. So I make sure I rest a lot. I make sure I socialize with my friends. I make sure to make time for my wife. I love spending time in the garden. So my inspiration is actually everything that isn't work, really, because I know all of that energy I get makes me work great. I mean, if you're talking about inspiration for creativity, like I said, I mean, big fan of tattoo art, graffiti, skateboard culture. I love reading old
Yeah,
tattoo magazines and stuff.
you have Harley?
Oh no, everybody thinks I ride a motorbike, but my mum's a nurse, so she'll kill me if I ever got a motorbike.
So, any tips, James, related to, for example, source of YouTube channel? Of course, your YouTube channel, of course, everybody will, follow.
Hmm.
Books or YouTube channel or courses you advise designers to have a look or just to apply for?
Yeah, I mean, I've never done a course, so it's not something that I can recommend because I've never done them. But there are some fantastic resources out there. I mean, obviously, YouTube, type it into the search, it's free, it's great. Obviously, there are some more focused courses. There's some great ones out there. Again, I haven't done any, so I can't promote anything in particular. But I think what the main thing you can do as a designer is kind of right. Think about the mission that you're on. Who am I? What services do I provide? What is my mission for today and the next 5 years? As soon as you start to understand what makes you tick, you can then, or as soon as you help yourself, you can help other people. And then once you know what direction you want to be in, whether it's a logo designer or a strategist or a typographer or a calligrapher, jump into those communities on social media, whether it be Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, all of the above, because the communities that are available are fantastic. You can reach out and comment on people's work on DM, and you can start to form relationships with people. So that's what I would be doing. And when my logo course is out, maybe people should buy that because it'd be really good. But that's not going to happen for a while yet.
What's your upcoming projects, James?
Well, I've got the book. My book is launching on the 2nd of November. My new website is going to launch on the 1st of September. Next year, early next year, my logo course will drop. And then probably the middle of next year, I'm going to have a closed community for logo designers. And then also a load of merch. And then also running Made by James and Baby Giant Design Co. So, I got a fair bit on.
Yeah,
Fair bit on.
you have a lot on your plate.
Yeah, I like to spin a few plates because I get bored easily.
Okay, I get the last question because now we are reaching 1 hour. Some's asking about how much time it takes from you to do like a logo or a brand identity. Usually,
Yeah.
a week or month.
No, I mean, I take 10 to 12 hours on a project.
For one option, or for one project?
For one project.
For one project, one option for design logo, 12 hours only?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Process. Process. Yeah, I mean, so basically when I'm talking with a client, they'll come to me. It's usually, I say a 2-week process because I'm usually juggling 4 or 5 projects at a time. Obviously, 8 other agency work with Baby Giant, creating Made by James stuff and building my own brand. But I always think that 12 hours is actually an extremely long time. Those are very intense hours, very dedicated hours. I don't do 3 hours here and then tell people that's taken me a day. Do you know what I mean? I'm very process orientated. I know how long it takes me to have a call with my clients and talk about the brief and the mood board. I know how long it takes me to sketch ideas. I know how long it takes me to mock up my final ideas. I've been doing 100 logos a year for the last 4 or 5 years now. So
What about the market research? For example, if you start to do, for example, logo for a coffee shop, example, uh,
yeah.
don't look for the competitors, their logos, or the market. After you do your logo, you have, I think, to double check if it exists, if it's not exists, something similar or not. That's type of time stake for
That
for,
I create, obviously. Yeah,
sorry, yeah.
so I do. I mean, my job is not to do all their trademark process for them. They're not paying me to do that. And I think this is the big problem. You know, designers are spending so much time doing stuff that other people, their clients, can be doing. So basically, I will create the logo. It will all be done, packaged up within 12 hours. Sometimes it might take 20. I've done logos in 3 hours before, super quick, depending on how quickly they come to mind. And, sometimes it's a great idea, bing, bang, bosh, mock it up. Client loves it, you're done. Sometimes with few revisions, it can take a bit longer. But when it comes to the trademarking stuff, yes, obviously I'll kind of, I've got this idea, I'll go onto Google, have a little look around, but I'm not going to spend hours traipsing the internet because maybe there is something that's existing out there, but is it trademarked? Is it copyright? There's also countries that don't adhere to trademark and copyright restrictions around the world. So I think what you've got to do is I lay out my process to my client, this is my job, this is what I'm going to do, this is how long it's going to take, this is how much it costs. After that, after you've paid the final invoice, you own everything I create. It's up to you to go through the trademark process. It's up to you to check this. It's not my job to do that. My job is to create it for you. For example, in the past, when they...
Sorry, James, if I'm your client, okay, and
Yeah.
you for me a logo,
Yeah.
based on your process, you deliver the final artwork to me.
Yeah.
But figure out, for example, the logo is already exist or something similar, 70, 80, 90% for
Yeah.
that. So this Marat to come back to you, I said, James, come on, this is already exists. Can you do another one? This is within the quotation, within the sign of
Yes.
the client.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on how long it takes them to get back to me. If they come back to me 2 years later, forget it.
Yeah,
Do you
of
know what I
course.
mean? Yeah, but if they come back, so this is one of the things that I do. I mean, it's happened once in 500 logos where somebody has gone through the trademarking process, and because of the particular classes and the industry and the product, we've got to remember how trademark works here, and we haven't got time to go into that. They've said, look, James, we tried to get it through trademark process, but there is something similar. Can we do some tweaks to kind of get it past? We've spoken to, trademark lawyers, and there's obviously some certain options that we can do. I do that for free. I'm not an idiot. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not going to spend my good evening hours when I should be with my wife going through the internet looking at freaking trademarks because it's a nightmare. But I say to my clients, there is like what you would call like a relief period. So once you've got it, if you go, I know the trademark process usually takes 4 to 8 weeks depending on country. So they've got like a good 3 months, to trademark it. If there is any issues, I will get it over the line. You've also got to remember that just because kind of a trademark issue is raised up, you don't have to start the logo again. Simple changes, simple shape changes, simple detail changes can take it from usable to not usable, or not usable to usable. So I said like over 500 logos. It's happened once, and when it did happen once, I did it all for free. We worked on how we could make it slightly different, but still keep the essence of the logo that they loved. Bing, bang, bosh, went through trademark, fine. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all depend. Number one, it's about terms and conditions in your contract with your client.
Yeah.
From day one, that's fine.
But it's also about being a human a bit at the end of the day and being a good guy. If somebody comes to me, like I said, 2 years later and said, oh, we tried to trademark it, but this exists, I go, unfortunately not my problem because you should have done it 2 years ago. If I deliver a logo today and somebody comes back to me in 4 weeks and says, James, we tried to get it through the trademark process, but this has happened, I will tweak it for them and make sure we can get it through. Yeah, I mean, that's just being a nice person or a person, you know. I work very closely with all my clients. You know, I still work with clients that I've worked with for 10 years. Did a logo for them 10 years ago, still working with them today. So, I mean, that's, for me, it's about relationships. And I'm not a big, no, sorry, mate, you paid your money, see you later. If somebody needs something, you know, and it takes me 3 or 4 minutes to do or export or whatever, I'll just do it for free. Easy.
We are looking for your course, James, because it's fascinating talking about the process, about the design, your way of thinking, because it's different from agency to agency, from freelancer to freelancer, from solo to tango business, timeline. It depends about even the pipeline itself. If a lot of work or tasks, so they have to manage it. So there are different varieties, but you are a star because you can manage all that because of your process. So
it's like we said, process is power. Process is power. And like I said, like, you know, when I was talking about, I would just want to kind of make sure this hits home is the point, the 10 to 12 hours, you know. Like I said, I tell my clients it's a 2-week process. So theoretically, it's a 2-week process, but real design down, working, focused work is 12 hours, you know. So, you know, I think maybe it's worth people kind of, you know, the next time somebody does a logo project, you know, have a little timer, because that's what I did.
Know your secrets, James. So when any client asking for logo, you can't say 2 weeks. They say no, you can do it within 10 hours or 12 hours now.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I mean, I'm very open and honest about how long it takes me, and nobody ever minds that I say 2 weeks. So, you know, I think it's, you know, I would say it'd be a very interesting thing for designers to kind of go through, you know, because the more refined you can make your process, the more money you make. That is the way to do it. Why spend 2 days sketching when you can do an intense sketching session for 3 hours and get it all done? And I think that's where many designers are kind of missing out, is if you refine the process and make it this well-oiled machine, you are going to make more money. Do you know what I mean? If it took me 40 hours to do a logo, I wouldn't make as much money as I do because it takes me 12 hours.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So anybody who's designing a logo at the moment, get your phone out. When you start working on it, push a timer. When you finish, stop it. You know, and actually see how long the whole process takes, because you might think it takes a month, but you could probably do it in 3 days. So
Can I call you, James, the logo?
The logo what?
The logo vending machine.
The logo. You can call me whatever you like, mate. You know, I'm good. Yeah.
I like your mindset, James, and thank you for your time.
That's been fun.
Value to all the audience, and of course, most of them they already following your Instagram, and I'm inviting everybody just join. Please follow James' account and YouTube channel. It's adding value. It's very inspirational, and it's very practical. Process is the gold. Process is the secret recipe of James, and for any successful logo designer. Thank you for your time, James. Any final word for your audience and for all of our audience? Any final word from your side, James?
Just enjoy your life. You only get one, so enjoy it.
Simple. Thank you, James.
Thanks for having me. Take care, mate. Chat soon.
Thank you, mate.
Bye. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye. Are you sure?